Hills, rock-ribbed and ancient as the sun, the vales stretching in pensive quietness between, where rolls the Oregon, and hears no sound save his own dashings.
We have built a monument to the frontiersman. He surveys an endless horizon. He is the clearer of lands, the conqueror of his environment. The clearer of lands is no longer a hero. He evokes about the same reaction he would get if he detonated a small nuclear device on his own land. We are deep into the 20th century. Our world has shrunk. We are beginning to have some misgivings about our conquests of time and space. We're beginning to look at our environment and at the price it has to pay. Our mountains are disappearing. The cities themselves, Portland, Coos Bay, Eugene. In the valley, our air is contained in a box, and frequently there is a lid on it. Southern Oregon misuses its air, too. Central Oregon isn't all clear blue skies. As we drive along looking askance at those dirty polluters, let us remember our own exhaust. We have met the enemy, and they are us, to quote Pogo. And the enemy is using a deadly gas, carbon monoxide. The River Oregon, called the Columbia now, hears something more than its own dashings. It hears a million toilets burbling partially treated sewage into it. Would you believe 400 million gallons of this stuff dumped into Coos Bay last year? It was an accident. They've had accidents before, and will probably have accidents again. Glue wastes and poisonous preservatives flow to a ditch. Which flows to a creek, which flows to the Rogue, our wilderness river, already made pretty wild by logging and mining operations. Central Oregon is honeycombed with lava tubes, and many of the residents of that area have an easy way of getting rid of their sewage. Let it run into the ground, out of sight, out of mind. Where does it go? No one knows. Where the pure water at Hopewell Springs comes from is another mystery. How long it has been moving underground is even a greater mystery. We know that it has been underground for at least 20 years, for it shows no trace of radioactive fallout from the atomic bomb test period. We can conclude that this sewage is charging a pollution time bomb. There are over 600 unlawful disposal sites in Oregon. This one is in Harney County. This one can be found along the 7 counties of the Oregon coast. This is one of the 231 lawful dumps. In Klamath County, 10,000 empty pesticide drums accumulate each year. They are scattered throughout the county. Most contain residues of highly toxic substances, which puts water in jeopardy, which puts wildlife in jeopardy. If you think the mill is the only polluter here, you are wrong. Take 1,000 head of cattle off the range, and you have a source of pollution. In a feedlot, a steer will gain about 200 pounds in 6 weeks. This is a lot of input. It is a lot of output, too. With the help of rain, this output crosses a field, enters a creek, and makes its way to a river, the Deschutes, one of our cleanest rivers. The elements of pollution are the environment, man, and what he throws away. The dynamics of pollution are the factors you multiply these elements by. Let's take a gallon of gas as input into your car. Each gallon weighs 6.8 pounds. The output is 2.3 pounds of carbon monoxide, a half a pound of hydrocarbons, a tenth of a pound of nitrogen oxides, 5/1000ths of a pound of lead. Not very much. In the Portland metropolitan area, 9,350,000 vehicle miles are driven each day. To accomplish this transportation miracle, 4,958,000 pounds of gas are burned each day. This generates 1,512,000 pounds of carbon monoxide, 434,000 pounds of hydrocarbons, 84,000 pounds of nitrogen oxides, and over 1.5 tons of lead. We are tampering with the chemical composition of the most vital part of our environment, the air we breathe. Ever wonder where the drained oil from your crankcase goes? In the Portland metropolitan area, there are over 4,000 oil changes a day. This results in 1.5 million gallons of oil that has to be disposed of each year. The disposal that you probably haven't given much thought to leaves a lot to be desired. Quite a bit of the oil seeks out our water, not in the dramatic manner of the Santa Barbara oil spill. But given time, this insidious spill, too, will take its toll. Take a tire. You have 4 on your car. You may get 30,000 miles on them. In the Portland metropolitan study area, 1,260 tires wear out each day. 443,600 tires wear out each year. There is no place to put them. You can't burn them. The dumps don't want them. The land they rest on has more value than tire carcasses. Where do they go from here? Having a place to put waste doesn't solve the problem. There are no statistics on the amount of litter strewn along our highways. You can get a visual readout each mile you drive. It costs the Highway Department over $13 a mile to clean it up. The cost of cleanup adds up to over $400,000 a year. It's like shoveling sand against the tide. Some of the litter hits the target. Something more than litter hits it too. Many vacation residents use these depositories as a garbage service. Inadvertently, the highway department is in the garbage business. It is not really equipped to do a good job. In most cases, the final disposal is little more than a sweep under the rug. Let's examine some of the sources.
It is really hard to imagine how one fights litter with a non-returnable bottle. The proponents of the no return claim 3 uses out of a returnable bottle. But even this would cut down the amount of broken glass by perhaps a third. A U.S. public health survey found that the heavy-duty bottles can be recycled 20 times. My colleagues and I see a terrific number of cut feet in the emergency wards, so I feel that the public health report is probably closer to the truth. I think if we can reduce litter, we will certainly reduce injuries to children. Not everything is broken glass, obviously. These little things take their toll also.
Oregon is not a densely populated state, but the 7 paper mills on the Willamette River discharge before treatment organic wastes with a population equivalent of 3 million people. Our second largest industry, agriculture, creates its own pollution. In Jefferson County, the nutrient runoff from fields to river is over 100 times greater than what could be expected from the population alone. This would hold true for any agricultural county. The output of canneries and food processing plants is very much like the output of the garbage disposal in your own sink, multiplied thousands of times. At the peak of the canning season, Salem has a population equivalent of 400,000. The sewage system is built to carry this load. Not all sewage systems are. Here is corn discharging into the Willamette River. What we don't totally consume ourselves, one way or the other, nature is going to have to ultimately consume for us. Some of nature's ways aren't particularly attractive to us. This, too, is a consumer item. It is the ultimate of all the items that make up the GNP, which is our index of wealth. Where are these symbols of wealth bound for? The dealer's showroom? The proud first owner? This is their ultimate destination. GNP can stand for gross national pollution as well as gross national product. Given about 10 years' time, an American dream becomes a grim reality. Product and pollution are interrelated, and we shouldn't be surprised at all the pollution around us. Hasn't our GNP been growing each year? A little closer to home, we might ask, what is the product here? How much product goes into the air? How much product goes into the water? What have we lost when we take something away? All this for a product that sees a brief moment of service. Perhaps even 2 moments. Then the end result. Would a company dare advertise, pollution is our most important product? The paper industry is not to blame. We have all been trapped in a strange way of measuring our wealth. The method ignored until recently, our environment. For a long time, the Willamette River was ignored. It was used as a sewer by city and factory, by ships and boats. It was muddied and soiled in 1,000 ways. In the summer, It almost ceased to flow and filled with filth. Oregon stopped ignoring its environment in 1939, when the parent body of the Department of Environmental Quality was formed. It was established in the belief that the true measure of a state's wealth comes from measuring its most valuable assets, its water, its land, its air. These measurements aren't for academic purposes. They are the basis of standards of quality meant to be enforced. The instrument of enforcement is this: the permit. No city, corporation, or individual can legally discharge any waste into any stream in the state of Oregon without such a permit. What is permitted is tied to an orderly plan of improvement of river quality. Today, all sewage going into the Willamette receives secondary treatment. Gravel operations, houseboats, log rafts are also under control. All the paper mills have at least primary treatment. Millions of pounds of waste are being diverted from the Willamette. This is how it used to be. Now, almost all wastewater going to the river is free of suspended solids. All paper mills are scheduled for secondary treatment to remove the dissolved materials from their discharges. One of the best indexes of improved water quality is the return of the fall Chinook salmon to the Willamette above Oregon City Falls. This was a joint effort of state, federal, and private agencies. When the water gets clean enough for the salmon, it's clean enough for people. In parts, it is clean enough to swim in now. The day isn't too far away when the entire river will be suitable for swimming. What used to go to the river now goes to the land. Can the land take it? Is a throwaway economy economical? Can we bury and forget this? Or will it come back to haunt us, the ghosts of our technology? What was used to clean the laundry now dirties the landscape. Convenience packaging has to be carried one step further. Convenient disposal. Plastic containers are ridiculously hard to dispose of. Paper, when not coated with plastic, is to date our most readily disposable container. Without disposal sites, every house would look like this. To date, only 15 cents out of every dollar spent on solid waste disposal is spent at the disposal site. We are going to have to invest more in the land. This is one way to improve dumps, the sanitary landfill. This is soon going to be the rule, not the exception. The ultimate solution is to convert waste into usable products. The field burner, the backyard burner, the wigwam burner. All are cases where someone is using the atmosphere to carry away a residual product. What is needed is a systems approach to carry residual products to someone who can make use of them. We have some of the elements now. We need to apply these principles to every product that represents a disposal problem. The search for this is on. This is a case where a waste discharge permit was refused. This Portland herbicide manufacturer had to find an alternative to letting its wastes leach into the Willamette. This alternative involves a long haul from Portland to Lake County. It is stored in a self-contained basin area. Tests are now going on to find a way to dispose of this material without harming the environment. The tests show every indication that this can be done. We have come a long way in the steps we take to protect our environment. Here is another area where waste discharge permits were cut off because they took on the character of a license to pollute. At its source, the Tualatin is a beautiful mountain stream. When it enters the valley, it still isn't so bad. But then its troubles begin. In its 65 remaining miles, the Tualatin is assaulted by 27 sewage plants. That is a lot of water. The trouble is, in the summertime, there is no water in the river. It comes to a halt and rots. The only input is from the sewage plants. Fano Creek, 3 million gallons per day. Metzger, 800,000 gallons per day. Tigard, 850,000 gallons per day. The audience is very fortunate to be spared the smell of this creek. Perhaps, though, that is the only way to really sense the problem. As a crisis, the Tualatin will be dealt with. Nearly 1/4 of the state's population is involved in it. That is the crux of the problem. It is also the hope. There are strong signs that the people of Oregon are beginning to care about their environment.
As far as the pollution by pulp mills, sewage, this sort of thing, I think we're winning the battle. I think people are beginning to care. And certainly in the Coos Bay estuary, the water quality has been improving, and I think we'll see a dramatic improvement in the next few years as the new sewage treatment plants are made and industry cleans up its outfalls. It's this filling, though, which is really a form of irreversible pollution. We've only got so much estuary. When it's filled, it's gone. And once you fill that estuary, you don't find people digging it up again. It's lost. And much of the area you cover, they say, well, it's mud flat. It's a dirty, old, smelly mud flat. But it's this mud flat which it's the productive part. It's the boiler. It's the energy-producing part of an estuary. That's where the action is. That's where life goes on. And when you've destroyed that, you've destroyed your estuary eventually. On the other hand, there are signs that people are beginning to care. I think certainly in Coos Bay, there are people now who are beginning to say, do we really want that filled up? Should we lose this? Don't we want an area in which our kids can play?
Hi there. I'm hungry. What I need is a lot of good trash. Why don't you get me some yummy paper and scraps and litter? That would make me very happy. I help keep the park clean for you, too. Just hold your litter up to my snout, and I'll pull it inside with my powerful breath. That's why they call me Slurpee. I'll wait here for you while you get me some trash. No bottles now. Those go in the trash cans. But hurry back with that litter, because I'm sure hungry.
Some of the voices heard are imaginative ones. Sometimes communities speak through action, not words. They find ways to make it convenient not to litter. They clean up other people's litter when it's really not their job. If we wait to find out whose job it really is, it may be too late. Perhaps it is time to ask, what can we do? What can my family do? What can I do? You can make a commitment to your environment. A personal commitment is self-enforcing. What is needed is thousands of small, thoughtful acts. It is the thousands of small, thoughtless acts that have compounded the problem. Study the problem. Share your questions and answers with others. Write, phone, speak out for your environment. Learn where the action is. How deep will your commitment be? Deep enough to separate your own waste? Deep enough to show concern for the air you breathe when you purchase your next car? It is your air. It's your environment. Everyone who shares it has a responsibility to protect it. Our survival depends on this.